it's me, OGDuffy. Hope you're all fit and well and good and doing all that great stuff that we do in life generally, like breathing and eating and, hey, surviving. Anyway, onwards and upwards, this week's Versus video. Now, this has been suggested by one of the guys who always comments on the channel, etc. And this is Captain Skunkbeard. Yes, you heard me correctly. This is for you, Mr. Captain Skunkbeard. Why I've said that in a pirate accent, I don't know. Probably because it has the word captain in it. But anyway, onwards and upwards. So what's he suggested for us? Well, it's a racing game, and it is this Buggy Boy. Buggy Boy, or Speed Buggy, as it was known in North America, was released in the arcades in '85. And originally it comes as sit down, and you would have three monitors. So there'd be a central monitor and one either side of the screen to give sort of this panoramic vision, I suppose. Worked well, got good reviews, went down well. Shortly after they brought out that cab, they brought out another one, which again was a sit down, but this one only had the single monitor, and got the nickname as Buggy Boy Junior, because obviously a lot smaller. But made it more affordable so it could be shipped out to more arcades and stuff to increase its popularity. Now, as I say, this was suggested to us by the channel, as always. So, without further ado, we're going to take a look at several systems for this one, okay? We're going to do the 8-bits, and with the 8-bits this week, we're going to do the ZX Spectrum, the Commodore 64, and the Amstrad CPC, the usual suspects as I like to call them. But we're also going to do a 16-bit comparison of the Commodore Amiga and the Atari ST. Now, obviously, these are not going to be judged together. I will do one judgment for the 8-bits, and then I'll do another judgment for the 16-bits, because, hey, that's fair. Now, as always, before we get into it, we're going to look at the arcade version first, all right? But before we do that, if you don't already subscribe to the channel, please do so, because it makes me happy. Hey, and not just that, you know, comments also. Let me know in the comments any future Versus games you want to suggest for systems I can look at and all that sort of good stuff. And again, let's have some healthy debate. What are your memories of this game? Do you remember playing the free screen monitor version? Because I've never seen it on the free screen. I remember seeing it as a single screen. And what home system did you own, if any? And what are your memories? Anyway, onwards and upwards is the arcade version. So this is it, Buggy Boy on the arcades. Now, this was released in '85, and as I said earlier, right at the beginning, it had 3 screens in the original cab. It'd be interesting to know if any of you have ever played that version or come across it. And of course, and then the junior version with just a single screen, which made it a bit more affordable to put out there and put in the mainstream and make available in more arcades. Now, with this game, you drive around the course, you avoid the various obstacles, and you gain points for driving through the gates and collecting them flags. Had 2 speeds, high and low gears, and played very nicely for a game in '85. So a very, very good effort here. I mean, this arcade company was not the most well known, but with this game they certainly did very well. This was released onto the 8-bit computers of the day, which we'll be looking at shortly, and we're going to show the same level for all systems today, okay? And this is like the first lap of the off-road level. Okay, so that concludes the arcade version. Like I say, if you remember playing this, let us know in the comments. Next up, here we go, the Commodore 64. So first things first, as a racing game on the C64, this was brilliant. It did a really good job, because historically I've not known the C64 to have the greatest racing games on the planet, but this one scrolled well and it had a good sense of speed and everything else. The only lack for this, to me, it lacked the arcade quality. It didn't resemble the arcade version enough for me. But that said, like I say, it was a good system overall. It was fast, it was smooth, had good audio, and it played really well. But the only distraction was, like I say, it just didn't seem like it was the arcade version to me. It was lacking something. Next up, let's take a look at the Sinclair ZX Spectrum version. So here we go, the Specky version. To my understanding, or to my belief, I don't think this was released as 128K separate. I think there was the 128 and 48K versions were both the same. It looked good actually. I mean, for the size of the sprites and that, it did very, very well, and it resembled the arcade. You know, you knew it was Buggy Boy, but the size of these sprites and the graphics in general, like when the screen gets busy like here, it just made it unplayable for me. It was just too busy. It just didn't seem to do very well at all. But graphically, for the Spectrum, I have to say it did a very, very good job for it. You know, for the Spectrum's limitations. And I mean, they even used some colour there in the main buggy, as you can see. Now, as we all know, the colour clash issues with the Spectrum were handled very well on that. So, great effort, chaps. Very well done. But like I say, the icons were just so big and the screen just got so busy, it detracted from the game. So, bit of a bummer on that front really, but hey-ho. Graphically good, but hey-ho. This here is the Amstrad CPC version. Now, to be honest, I was expecting this to be a similar version to the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. I thought they would just port it over direct and just, you know, do that. Because I know they did that on a few conversions between the Spectrum and the Amstrad, but they didn't. They did their own thing here. Now, I have to be honest with you, this was a great conversion and really did surprise me. It looked similar to the C64, but it played better, it was smoother, and all in all, it was just a really good game. I mean, the you know, collision clash and everything else for this was spot on, and it was really, really well done. So this one really did surprise me. Like I say, I've said in previous videos, I was never a big fanboy of the Amstrad back in the day, and I didn't really know an awful lot about the system, to be fair. I was a 64 and specky man, but this has surprised me, this system, on a few games that I've played, and this was one of them. This was a really good, well done conversion. So well done, Amstrad, on this one. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It resembled the arcade well, and it played really, really nicely. So good effort there, Amstrad. So taking a look at the 16-bit versions, and first off we've got the Commodore Amiga. As you would expect with the 16-bit systems, this looked really nice. Played really well actually, this version. It was nice, it looked good, it sounded good, and it stuck very well to the arcade original. So this was actually a really good conversion. Now, looking at prices at this time, I mean, to be absolutely fair, I mean, I think this game was $7.99 if you bought it on the Spectrum, $8.99 if you bought it on the Amstrad, $9.99 if you had it on the C64, and if you bought it on the Atari ST or the Commodore Amiga, it would set you back £19.99 or 95 pence. So why was it back then they would charge so much, like the extras, for the titles of the games? I mean, was it because they thought people could afford it if you owned an ST or 16-bit system or Amiga of the day? Don't know, let's have your thoughts in the comments. How did that price structure work for you? And this was the Atari ST version. Now, strangely, right, this had a faster frame rate than the Commodore Amiga version. Okay? And that, you would have thought, would have made it a better game. But it didn't. It was really weird. It made it hard to control. It made the control and gameplay all over the place. It just played so differently to the Amiga. Now, if you consider the Amiga version, which we just looked at, graphically and sound-wise, these were both so you know, similar, but yet this frame rate detracted and took away from the controls and the gameplay in general, which was a real shame if you're an ST user of the day. Let me know your thoughts. Did you play this game? Did you own it on any of these systems that we've covered here today? If so, drop it in the comments. If you agree or disagree with my comments, again, let me know. Let's have a bit of debate. verdict time. And first off, we're going to look at the 8-bit systems. In third position for the 8-bits, it goes to the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. Now, I was really impressed that graphically how they'd sort of made it look and resemble the actual arcade. And bear in mind, for the ZX Spectrum's limitations, they used colours and all sorts. And I was quite surprised by this conversion. So, tip me hat to you on that respect. But, big, bold, bright sprites. But the screen was far too busy, and the busier it got, the more confusing I think the game got, and for me it detracted a bit. So, Spectrum in third position. In second position, I gave it to the Commodore 64. Now, this was a great conversion, and as a Commodore racer, is up there with some of the best. I thought it was, it was a really good racing game. Played well, thoroughly enjoyable, and great fun. So, well done to the C64. So, in first place, obviously, the only 8-bit system left goes to the Amstrad CPC. Now, I thought this was going to be a complete sort of clone of the Spectrum version, and it wasn't. It didn't look dissimilar to the C64. It played really nicely, and like the C64, it was a good game and it played well, but for me it just had the edge over the Commodore version. It just played that little bit better, so well done, Amstrad. I was very impressed with this, it was smooth and it was a great game, so what was not to love? Anyway, 16-bit verdict now. 16-bit verdict. In second position of the two goes to the Atari ST. Now, obviously, they both look very similar graphically. Sound-wise, very similar. Right? Now, the Atari ST played at a faster frame rate, which you would have thought would be a good thing, wouldn't you? Well, I did. But then the playability got lost in that. It just didn't respond as well. It seemed to have lost something. So for me, the Atari ST come in second place, which means Commodore Amiga took it for the 16-bit on my verses this week. So well done to the Commodore Amiga. It looked very similar to the ST, played in a similar vein, but had a slower frame rate, which made it control far better, and the gameplay was better. So, in a nutshell, there we go. That's our two winners this week. So it goes to Amstrad CPC for the 8-bit and the Commodore Amiga for the 16-bit. Now, if you like this and you liked what you've seen, do hit that subscribe button, because I drop these videos every week. And again, don't be hating on the video if your system hasn't won, but do let me know in the comments as to why. Why you agree, why you disagree, what your memories are and all that sort of stuff. And if you've got any suggestions for future Versus videos, let me know in them there comments. Look after yourselves, stay safe, see you all next time. Cheers. If you watched the video and you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe for more great videos. Thanks for watching.